This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we are going to take a look at some viewer mail. I've got 4 things that were sent in that are completely awesome that I want to share with you. But before we get going on that, I want to address a question that I get asked pretty much every time I do one of these mail videos. Am I actually going to do some videos and some tutorials to teach you guys how to build your own zine or book? Well, after giving this a lot of thought a couple months ago, I announced that we're doing a series of workshops on this very topic. So if you sign up for one of these workshops, they are 4 different weeks, and week 1, week 2, week 4 are classroom type instruction. I do these on Zoom, and then that 3rd week we break down into small groups so you can get some one-on-one. I can take a look at your projects and kind of give you some direction and see what you're doing. These have been a lot of fun. We're in the middle of the first one so far. The next one's in April. Unfortunately, both of these are sold out. However, if you are interested in getting on the waiting list, I do have a waiting list that you can get on, and I will put information below this video in the show description if you're interested. And if you just can't wait for that, I do want to say that I have a couple extra slots that are still open on the workshop that I'm doing in New York City in April. This is a workshop I'm doing with Ralph Gibson. It's going to be amazing. It's called The Next Level, and if you are trying to get to the next level with your work, this is probably for you. We're going to do a whole lot of stuff in this workshop, and you're going to come out with a portfolio of work to show for, and it's going to be really cool. So I will put information with that below this video as well, and so check those out. So without further ado, though, let's get to some viewer mail. All right, so first up is this little book, which does not have a title. This comes to us from Chris Douglas, who lives in Rochester, Minnesota. He also includes a note which reads, "Dear Ted, my sons and I have been followers of your channel for some time. We're all amateur photographers and have greatly enjoyed your sharing and critiquing of others' photography projects. Your photo work, along with theirs, has inspired us in our own photo adventures. After a year of planning, the 4 of us took a long Labor Day weekend in 2022 and traveled Route 66 from Oklahoma City to the Santa Monica Pier in California. We made about 80 stops in 4 days along the 1,350-mile route while taking a couple thousand photos using digital, 35mm, and medium format films. After several rounds of evaluating each other's and our own photos, we narrowed them down to 20 from each of us that are included in the enclosed book. We only made 5 copies, one for each of us and one for you, for the inspiration that you gave us to take the adventure and put together a book. In looking at all of our individual photos and starting to put the book together, we thought it was interesting how each one of us approached the same subjects in a different way. One of us might look at the larger grand landscape and another would notice the smallest details. While the photo adventure and putting together the book was both fun and challenging, what I most valued from the experience is the time spent with my sons. As they become adults, moved on to other states in pursuit of their careers, and started to get married, there's been less and less time that we can all get together and do something like this. Any time that we can all be together, especially when it's centered around something we all enjoy, like our pursuit of photography, makes it even more special. That trip will always be one of the most memorable of my life. Thanks again for your channel and advice, and I hope you enjoyed the book we put together, Chris." P.S. Pictured in this first photo in Oklahoma, left to right, is Chris Douglas, Nick Douglas, Evan Douglas, and Nathaniel Douglas. And there they are at the end of the route. This is on the pier in Santa Monica. Chris, this book is awesome. I am really touched by this. I'm very flattered that you would actually make a copy to send to me specifically, and so I wanted to share it with everybody else on here. I'm really blown away. The quality of the work in here is outstanding, and I think what's even more awesome about this, and you've said it in your letters, the time spent with your sons. This is something I would actually like to see more of, and I don't see a lot of, is people who are families that actually collaborate and allow photography to be something that brings them together. Beyond that, the work in here is really good, and like you said, there's a variety of different approaches to the different subjects that you have at hand, from the grander scape down to the details. But I also love the range of what you've actually tackled in here. There's everything from astrophotography to abandoned buildings to night photography. This is really cool, and you guys should be very proud of this work, and I think that you've created a memory that you'll always have, and this is something that I encourage so much more people to do. I'm really blown away, and I'm really flattered that you sent and shared the copy with me. This is really awesome. So to Chris, Nick, Evan, and Nathaniel, work well done, my friends. If you guys are interested in this, there's only 5 copies of it, but maybe Chris will consider printing more, and I'll put links to their work below as much as I can find. So thanks for sharing, Chris. This is awesome. All right, so next up is a book that comes to us from a gentleman named Holger Nitschke. This is called Some Squares. I've emailed back and forth with Holger a little bit, so it's really interesting to finally see this. He also includes a note, and I want to note that he put this in an Agfa paper envelope here. Very cool. Holger included a note as well as this awesome little print, but the note reads, reads, Dear Ted, thank you very much for your positive reply to my email. It is an honor for me to be a part of your art of photography because the book is less filled with text. Let me tell you a few things about me and the intention behind some squares. I started photography 20 years ago. From the very beginning, my main focus were people, portrait, but just digital. In 2017, I got my first analog 35mm camera, and a friend of mine taught me how to develop film. He always said that my photos would look great on film because I'd always edited the digital images rather than the quote-unquote analog way. I love black and white, grain, sometimes blur, and I wanted my pictures to become more organic, so I started to shoot analog besides digital during my photo shoots. You probably know this, photographers always suffer very quickly from the gas syndrome, so the 35mm camera had to get a big sister. I absolutely fell in love with the vintage Rolleiflex TLRs, so I drove to town to buy one at a local dealer. It was in March 2020, on the day before the first lockdown in Germany. During the next months, I spent hours and days in the darkroom to improve my skills of film and print developing and to escape the media terror of the pandemic. I developed dozens and dozens of prints and film. It was a cure for myself. Just me, red light, loud music, and the smell of the chemicals. In the time after and during COVID, I shot many pictures with the Rolleiflex, but also with my Hasselblad 500 CM and added some other Rolleiflex sisters as well. Did I mention gas? I'd already published a book of my own in 2015 and then again in 2017. I wasn't actually planning to create another one so quickly, but the idea came to me spontaneously while I was jogging last fall. Suddenly, the title of the book popped into my head. When I got back home, I looked through my stock of pictures from the last 2.5 years to see if I could turn them into a book. I spent the following weeks and months designing it, and in May 2023, I finally held the finished work in my hands, and now you do too. In addition to reduction, variety is also very important to me, so the book didn't contain just fashion and portrait shots, but also some landscape and experimental photos as well as private shots. As you will see, there are also some errors and faults in the pictures. I wanted the content to be as authentic as possible, so apart from correcting the contrast and removing dust, I really didn't edit anything. I also kept the original negative edges, just some of the new images have been cropped. I think I've told you enough for now. We'll just let the book and the photos speak for themselves. Enjoy some of my squares. Best wishes from Germany, Holger. So Holger, this is outstanding. You should be very proud of this book. And I want to say that on a couple different levels. First of all, the photography in here is outstanding. I'm going to come back around to that because I really do like the work that you're doing. Second of all, you put some time and effort and money into getting this printed, and it really shows. I love the cloth cover. I love the embossed photo on the front. The print quality is outstanding. This is really well done, and you should be very proud of it. I really like you sharing that story with me too, because I think that, a lot of us can relate to the whole pandemic issue and coming in and like spending that time really getting solid and getting better at something. It's interesting how you've moved from digital to film, and I want to talk a little bit about this because this is the important takeaway, is that, when we talk about film versus digital, they're mediums, but one thing that you're getting out of here, specifically by shooting 2 1/4, 6x6, 120 film, whatever you want to call it, with the Rolleiflex, is that big surface on the negative. And so many of these images in here have such a great 3D quality to them, and it's the way that depth of field renders with that. And I absolutely love these. When you shoot wide open with an f2.8 lens on a surface that big, it just looks so lush and beautiful, and you get a real sense of dimensionality with that. I think film helps with that too. And so the work in here is outstanding. I love the fact you've chosen black and white, and your subject matter is really cool too. I don't really think of this as necessarily being a fashion book per se, because you have a wide range to the stuff that you're doing in here. Anyway, really nicely done. I will put a link to this as well as everybody else that we're talking about in the show description, so make sure you support your fellow colleagues and check out Holger's work. This is beautiful, man. It inspires me. In fact, you're really making me want to go dust off my old Rolleiflex because I haven't shot on it in a long time, mainly because film requires time that I don't have these days, but you're making me miss it a lot, and so that's the highest compliment I can give you on there. So, man, appreciate you sending. This is awesome. Thanks. All right, so I got a couple more things that I want to share with you. These are both documentary projects and very different, I might add. But real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor this week, who are the awesome folks over at Squarespace. How easy is it to build an amazing website in a matter of minutes? Squarespace has you covered. It's dead simple. Head over to Squarespace, hit Get Started. You can start by selecting from an impressive collection of customizable templates, or you can do what I do, build your own. Something unique because, you're not like other websites. Give your site a name. Next, you can build your homepage. We'll start with a few preset layouts just to get us going. Want to sell products like books or prints? Well, you can feature those on your homepage. Create a few more sections if you want. Let's also give it a color palette. There's a whole bunch to choose from, and just get us started. We can change this all later. Next, let's select the typography choices. Welcome to your website. Everything is set up and it's all ready for you to customize. Squarespace is built on Fluid Engine, the next generation of website design. Select Edit, and Fluid Engine allows you to drag, place, and resize any element on the page. You can snap these to a grid, you can make them float on top of one another, you can freeform however you like. You can even preview and adjust how the site looks on either desktop or mobile. The layouts are independent. Of course, you'll want a portfolio for your work. Creating an image gallery is as easy as dropping a folder of images on your web browser. Once uploaded, you can drag to resort, customize the look, and Squarespace writes all of the code for you. Everything just works and it looks fabulous. Want to sell your own prints, books, or zines? Squarespace has the capabilities to not only set up your online store and collect payments, but they also give you all the tools that you're going to need to be successful. Managing shipping and payment options, manage your orders, and engage with your customers. They even give you the tax tools that you need to keep things organized and stay compliant. You should try Squarespace for yourself. It's absolutely free, no credit card required. Just go to squarespace.com/AOP, sign up for that free trial. If you decide Squarespace is right for you, I can save you an additional 10% on your order by using offer code AOP on checkout. That's right, the code is AOP. So stop procrastinating, go build your website today. And I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. All right, so next up is this book called Chasing the Sun, photographs by Ricky Bolton. Ricky is actually an alumni. He has sent stuff in before, and he mentions this in his note, which reads, "Hi Ted, still loving the show. I don't know if you remember me, but I sent my first ever photography book called Seaside Escapes, which you featured on your channel a while back in March of 2022. It was a collection of color images taken in the south coast of England, created during the year of the pandemic, just as I had discovered my love of photography. Since that book, I decided to dip my toes into the world of black and white and created another title called Not in Color. Even though I enjoyed the creation process of making that book, color photography is what I truly love. I then discovered the amazing works of Alex Webb. His use of vivid color and genius composition really inspired me to try to create a collection of bold and bright, colorful images of my own. Hopefully, using the experience of my first two books as a stepping stone to improve my difficult third. Once the pandemic situation had eased in the UK and we were allowed out of the country to travel again, I decided to spend a year visiting as many places as I could afford, aiming to see all of the destinations on my bucket list and help create a book that I could be proud of. Please find enclosed my book called Chasing the Sun. The title of the book truly encapsulates what I was going for on my globetrotting photography expedition. I attempted to be creative whilst composing the images and hopefully make it as interesting as possible for the viewer. I still have much to learn and improve on, but thanks again for creating the content that you do. It goes a long way in helping budding photographers like myself and hopefully becoming more educated and knowledgeable about this fantastic art form that we all truly adore. Kind regards, Ricky." So Ricky's book was shot in 5 different countries. This is Portugal, Italy, Barbados, Spain, and Greece. This is very well done, Ricky. I love your use of color in here, particularly these kind of sunset kinds of things, but also the very bold, vibrant colors that you talked about being inspired by Alex Webb with. I really love the book. I think this is excellent. I'm glad that you were inspired to go forth. I think you just need to do more. I mean, this is really cool, and I think it's awesome that you found something that you have a deep passion for. The only critique that I would have on here, and I feel like the broken record because I say this on so many books, but when you put text at the bottom of images, I am not convinced that it needs to be there all of the time. Unless this is just for your own personal reference and you want to label where things were, I don't know that it's location dependent. I think the compositions, the color, the work speaks for itself pretty solidly. And I think you've done a really nice job here. And so one thing in particular that I really love, and I think maybe it was just particularly inspiring to you, but your work in Italy is very well done. I think the whole idea of the gondolas and the waterways and the way that angles and architecture occurs down there really speaks well with your style. So anyway, thank you for sharing this once again. Chasing the Sun is awesome. So check his work out below. All right, so next up is this book, which comes to us from Tristan Harmson. This is called 28 Days. Tristan also includes a note, and I want to share this with you because the envelope had this awesome wax seal on it. Very hip and handwritten, I might add. But Tristan's note reads, "Dear Ted, greetings from Quebec. I hope that all is well in Texas. I have been watching your channel for a few years now, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and lately more than ever, I have found it of great value as I try to transition from doing flashy Instagram-focused photography to a more documentary style and more meaningful themes. To this end, I began work a few years ago on 28 Days. This is a book which tells the story of the crew of the CCGS Griffon, the Coast Guard ship where I currently work. It was a good first step into this genre, I felt, to document a group of subjects with whom I am extremely comfortable. That being said, I discovered a lot over the course of this project that challenged me despite this. It was something wholly new to me to convey cohesive ideas through a series of images and create a story with characters. I was insecure from the very beginning that this book would not ever see the light of day, but now that it has, I wanted to give you this copy for your collection as a thank you for all the inspiration that your videos have given my short photography career. Take care, enjoy the book, and if you're ever in Quebec, the poutines are on me. Sincerely, Tristan. So Tristan, I really like what you're going for here. This is very different, and I wish that more photographers would follow in something similar. You know, it's one thing to just do images on an image by image basis, put them on Instagram, social media, and move on to the next. It's another thing to try to tell a story through a group of images and have a project like this. I think your subject matter is very cool. It's something that's very different, something I know very little about, and you have a perfect opportunity here to pique my interest and show me more and show me something that I haven't seen. I think you do that very well with the photographs that are in here. I like the variety of subject matter that you have. I like the variety of people that you're documenting. The only thing that for me that makes this a little bit distant still just as a viewer, I think that it would be a good idea for a book project like this, maybe you could treat this moving forward for your next one, to actually include some text. I think that would bridge and it would put the images into a little more context where you can develop these characters by telling people who they are, what they're responsible for doing with the Coast Guard, and then what they're maybe doing with their downtime. And I think that'll tell you a more complete story. You don't need a ton of text, but just some here and there, just tell me what I'm looking at and show me, you know, kind of some of the diversity within that range. I think you'd have something that's really solid. I think this is an excellent start, though. I love your use of color. I love your use of kind of the documentary aspect of this, and I think you're off to a really good start. So please stay in touch, and I want to see more work. I think this is a really solid direction to go in, and I'm proud of you for doing it. It takes some guts to jump out like that, and it's something that most photographers don't do. It requires a lot of time also, as you well know. Anyway, thank you for sending. As I said before, I'm going to feature everybody who's featured here. I will put in the show description below, so check their work out. Buy their books when you can, support your fellow artists, and if you guys want to send stuff in to me, you'll find my address there too. Been talking about changing mail time up, and I'm not quite there yet, so we'll still do mail time as is. We'll still do it later, but it's just there'll be some different things, a little more new format. That's what I'm going for. Catch you guys in the next video. Until then, later.